Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another The Theorizer reaction. And I had to take a bit of a break from it, but I'm finally back to do, the next Mort theory. And this is Mort theory number 4, solving all Hail King Julien. So, from the look of the playlist, this is the last Mort theory video that's about all Hail King Julien. Thankfully. Honestly, with all of the weirdness that is this show, I don't know how much of it I could have taken, or any more videos I could have, I should say, because it looks like the next video is going to be about the penguins of Madagascar, and that's a show I am much more familiar with than, than All Hail King Julien. Oh, God. So, I mean, in the last several episodes, we've had Mort, be basically, a fraction of every species under the sun, and some things that aren't species. We've had Mort, it's been confirmed that Mort has multiple personalities, as well as, fighting off an interdimensional invasion of Morts. Yeah, let's just say, I don't have anything else to say on the absolute absurdity that is Mort. So, let's just get him started, or get this video started, I should say. I'm sorry, the more I think of Mort, the more my brain starts to shut down on me. I'm sorry. Also, something I just remembered. So on my last reaction to the Mort theory number 3, the theorizer actually commented on one of my videos when I was asking about, should I watch the rest of the DreamWorks theories since they're in the playlist. And he said, and I agree with him now looking at it, that a lot of these just DreamWorks theories are very short. Like, I'm looking at them, and with the exception of one, most of them are 10 minutes or less. So I could probably watch several of them in a single sitting, just so I'm not, stretching this out needlessly. So when I get to those after Mort theory number 6, that's what I'm probably going to do. I'm probably going to do a reaction to probably 2 or 3 of the, the DreamWorks theories in one, and just put that out as one video. This is fun. But yeah, I guess we should probably get this thing started. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel. Because almost 3/4 of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change, because my next big goal is hopefully hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Mort is a weakling, wimpy limpy.
Oh god, here we go again!
How dare he do what he has done? I'll relay his crimes in a format as synonymous, for I am anonymous and mimic Mort the ominous. Now, he's out of his mind, but the other Morts are not. His genetic code is shot, like the grandmother he fought, buried her in a well, and hell if he ain't a malicious and delicious little eldritch entity Lovecraft sent to me on the silver platter lined with horrific insanity. He deserves as few videos as possible. Unfortunately, I've succumbed to DreamWorks and their awful show. What the hell is wrong with me? Am I free? Even lost in
I don't
lore?
think so.
Maybe. I mean, I'm on video 4. He gets what he deserves, nothing less and nothing more, which is one measly attempt at countering this. It ain't glorious, but as expected with the worst lemur, sacrificial lists identify him as their first lemur. Hell or high water, I will rip apart this night creature as his war crimes span the planet in this double feature roast. Mort is fishy in his genes, are we surprised as it seems? He's an alien from deep space with a feet taste, sitting eating Cheetos and Doritos and his dipping chips, slouching in-house on couch, throwing shade like an eclipse.
I've only ever heard the short standalone version. That was on Theorizer's second channel, if I remember correctly. I didn't know there was an extended full-length version.
Everyone, you are now on part 4 of my theory on Mort from Madagascar.
God, yeah.
Make sure to click the link above now, which will allow you to see the videos as a playlist I've made.
I've been watching!
Technically, again, this is part 2, section 3, but for the Algorithm, Part 4. For those who are prepared for the rest of All Hail King Julien, it is time. We are nearing the end of Exiled, and here we are at probably the best episode in the whole series. One of the best animated kids' TV episodes in recent and inexperienced memory. Carl claims to be responsible for Koto's conquest, but that's questionable. Julien blows up on another mine and appears back in Limbo. The pineapple claims that this is, in fact, Frank-Rila, otherwise what the lemurs know as the Heaven of the Sky Gods.
So heaven is just an empty white void with a single park bench in the middle? You know, if my afterlife consisted of literally nothing but that, I kind of feel I was ripped off.
They tease if this is still all in Julien's unconscious mind, but we saw Clover's grandma, unrelated to Julien. We know better. The fruits hold a divine trial and bring in all of the dead characters to testify.
Yeah, again, it's so weird, maybe just because I'm not used to seeing him without it, but like, Julien looks so weird without the crown. It's honestly, it's the whole thing, you know, something's missing, I can't tell.
Against Julien, someone's also there as a recurring joke who's actually still just alive. The fruits and veggies are focused on Madagascar as if it's the center of the universe. They are its gods. Julien returns to life eventually, and no time has passed, like some sort of heaven time dilation. Meanwhile, Maurice has been kidnapped
the bells,
by
no.
the underground bell gods. Turns out the bells are actually just snails in disguise who are terrified of the surface due to French cuisine. Apparently they have a worldwide network of underground tunnels, and their leader is named Jingle Jangle. Maurice is the chosen one, but the bells he repeatedly forsakes until they manipulate him, and then he doesn't. But the most important plot of this episode is, of course, Mort, who has...
he's back. Oh god. Okay. Again, it's the fact that you have, like, all of this insanity can just kind of, like, condensed down. And, like, so the sentient bells aren't actually bells, they're snails. Out of all the explanations you could have given, snails! Disguised as bells! This is already hurting my head.
Returned to the Mortverse. Morticus claims to have been waiting 1,000 years for his battle with Mort, implying either time dilation or Mort's true age. He claims he's been searching since their last encounter, and that both he and Mort are immortal, multiversal conquerors.
1,000 years. I mean, given that it would seem that, you know, the last time they met was the first time. Yeah, I'm very much leaning towards time, some form of time dilation, or, you know, just time in the multiverse not working at all. Really, 1,000 years? Jeez.
Mort has forgotten all of this somehow, and he asks if he missed the first act. Fourth wall break! Apparently, Morticus wants to absorb Mort, just like Mort absorbed countless versions of himself from the countless universes, but forgot due to the consequences of interdimensional travel. These are the personas in his mind. Brilliant. It makes him bloated, though, apparently. Morticus mutilates the mom bot and claims there can only be one leader of the Mortverse. Morticus owns Mort in the most obscene ways possible. They enter the ring, and a wigged female Mort holds up the round signs. The Mort horde whistles in sensual approval. Morticus sniffs Mort creepily and claims to smell his soul. Morticus wants Mort's endless absorbed spirits for himself, and Mort retaliates by showing a picture of the Foot constellation to entrance him. It's super ineffective. The feet are the only restraint on these otherwise anomalous immortal entities, and Morticus overcame it. He eats the diagram. Morticus threatens Julien's feet, enraging Mort while the army chants. Mort eats some dirt and vomits, slamming Morticus into the portal machine, electrifying him to death and funneling his spirit into Mort. I do believe Mort has now absorbed everyone Morticus had inside of him. All of the multiverse Morts he absorbed. The portal breaks. Chapter 11 is equally absurd, to be honest. You'll see.
You know, in the previous videos, I've kind of joked about, like, oh, this was supposed to be a kid's show, and, like kind of, like, playfully shaking my fist at the writers, just asking like, oh, what were you doing? But honestly, at this point, I am honestly so curious about what was going on in the writer's room during this series. Because, like, the more I hear about it, like, every single episode is, like, so absurd. And not even absurd in an absurdist sort of way. Like, I think back to, like, the early episodes of, like, Adventure Time or something like that. And, like, early Adventure Time was obviously also very absurd with very few, like, interconnected parts of it before it became, you know, very linear in a sense. You know, it was episodic when it first came out. But even with it and its weird world, like, thinking back, like, and granted, like, it may just me being, it may just me be, you know, misremembering here, because it's been a while since I've watched the early seasons of Adventure Time. But even, like, something like that, I don't remember them ever being as weird. So how is it that you have this world that's seemingly based in, you know, quote unquote, a normal world with a bunch of lemurs on Madagascar, and yet you have all this constant, like, chaos, and almost all focused on just a single character. Now, granted, I'm saying again that, you know, it might be just, you know, the whole, you know, lens I'm learning and about this through, because this is very much, you know, entire seasons of a show distilled in single, like, episodes. But still, this stuff is weird.
Julien starts it off by highlighting how he misses the usual simple standalone stories. Mort bangs his head and it sounds like metal. Mort is aware of this madness. He calls the whole plotline, quote, totally freaking insane. Do you know what else? Every single character in this show is implied to be Jewish and bisexual. It's a very specific sort of universe. Sage astral projects in a way that allows him to physically interact. Now, without coffee, Timo uses the mom bot to hypnotize Mort with a laser, sending him into his subconscious where he can manually find smart Mort to fix the portal home. The first thing Mort observes when he enters his mind is that it's dark in here. You and me both, Mort. In various rooms of this haunted mansion of a mind, we see a trampoline Mort, a trike Mort, twin Morts in diapers from The Shining, a Mort that crawls on the ceiling and cranks its head 180 degrees before threatening to eat him, so on. I think this is an owl-spider Mort hybrid. I don't know. There's also a Spanish Mort, and the Mort from when he was in that butterfly costume. I don't know what is what, that'll be for my actual theory videos on this topic. They all stalk him down the halls.
You know, the fact that we haven't even actually gotten to the whole, you know, theory part of, you know, the whole Mort theory is honestly terrifying.
He is chased by his own actions while terrifying circus music blares in the background. My question is, how far and wide has Mort been? This is quite a sophisticated human structure. A foot mansion. Maybe it's a good thing he's forgetful. Then his granny shows up. Just as Mort finds Smart Mort tied up, Smart Mort says, "The spider has ensnared the fly," as his grandmother enters the picture. Her plan is to escape the creepy mind prison, take control of Mort's body, and replace him. I wonder where Mordecus is hiding in here. Clearly the granny's been here some time because she's mastered the arts of mental competence.
I mean, honestly, the only thing I can think of is, oh god, what was that superhero movie? What was that movie Shyamalan made where the guy had like 20 different like split personalities, and like each one, and like the one was like a superpowered brute or something like that, and it actually gave him powers when it took control? Like, that's the... I think it was literally just called Split. It's like, man, that's the only thing I can think of when I see all this. And what does it mean by mental competence?
When she levitates and slams the door on Mort. Smart Mort seems capable of anything, but it's Mort who tries using his, quote, big think to will open the door, and does. Then Granny comes in with a spiked ball and chain containing a mine on the end. Mort changes it, and his grandmother accuses him of voodoo, which leads to the most epic Matrix parody anti-gravity Inception battle I've ever seen. Mort says the only one who gets to do weird stuff in his brain is him. They punch each other, changing gravity, as the granny rallies up dozens of other Morts to destroy him. Mort vomits a beam of pure light and seemingly annihilates all of the other spirits before repurposing the mansion as a field in the Alps. They battle like two titans across a stormy sky before the granny calls him out for consuming her essence and she tries melting him with X-ray vision. Mort spawns a deep wishing well and traps the cursed night creature at the bottom.
Oh! Okay. This is the granny that was trapped in the well. Okay. All the times I heard the Mort rap before, I assumed they meant the other granny from the Madagascar movies. I didn't think it meant Mort's grandmother. Okay.
With Smart Mort saved, the portal is fixed, and they escape with the Mort Horde. Despite now knowing what he is, Timo cries when he thinks Mort has died, calling him just a child. No.
Right,
Certainly not.
yeah.
Exiled Finale, Part 1. Clover astral projects and goes to space with the Mentor, only to suddenly appear in similar Alps to Mort's mind, where she meets a butterfly that I theorize is the inner soul of Sage's hawk, or not. She finds Sage's soul, and together, they possess his body and save Julian's life by destroying the execution machine. They expend massive levels of soul energy and punch Kodo with the power of ripping space-time. It's not enough. Then Carl reveals he has the most elaborate backup plan in known history when he reveals he built a space station which eclipses the sun and charges a laser to fry all of the mountain lemurs. It crashes into the moon and blows up. Then the Russian monkey...
Wait, he built a Death Star? What?
He's return. They crash into a volcano due to the oligarch dolphins. Then Mort shows up. Thousands of the Horde rain from the sky portal and consume the enemy, while Maurice and his army of bell snails come from beneath and corner the mountain lemurs on all fronts. Turns out this was the war foretold by the leader of the bells. If you were to enter the show without seeing any episodes here, you'd wish for the end of humanity. No writer, sane or insane, should conjure such ideas.
Honestly, what is wrong with you people? What happened to you to create such a thing?
Todd seemingly cannibalizes the mountain lemurs when his mom screams to go after their jugulars. The 1,000 Morts are shot from crossbows and explode on impact. Sage drills down by meditating.
What?
The bell snails get Maurice to fart and summon the great Jingle Jangle through a portal from who knows where. He arrives, and he's like 100 feet tall or something. He gets hit with a tiny bit of salt and shrivels up completely. Wow. I'm also shocked at how much Maurice hates Julien in the films. What happens between them, if anything? Kodo nearly kills Julien, but Mort redirects the spear and pierces someone else's butt cheek. It is now the second half of Exiled's finale. Archaic war commentary abounds. Pineapple literally narrates it. He calls it the Battle of Booty Ridge. The soundtrack's been killer these past few episodes, and all the other kingdoms bow to Julien, and Mort claims without the feat his life would be twice as meaningless as it already is.
Twice as meaningless.
Picks as Todd.
2 times 0 is still 0, so...
Mauls the enemy some more. The tentacle comes back and kicks butt with his baseball dad, who appears from a portal in the sky spontaneously. They defeat Kodo, but he returns on a hawk and kidnaps Julien. Sage and he have a sky battle in which they hella bitch slap each other and crash from hundreds of feet in the sky. Sage spares him, but Julien accidentally topples his statue and it crushes him to death. They blame Maurice. Mort goes for the feat thinking, quote, "This time will be different." Spoiler alert, it's not. Dude gets punted into next Tuesday. Gigi hooks up with the tentacle's dad. Clover and Sage nearly kiss, teasing an epic romance soon to be in a kid's show, but then they flat out zoom up and show Mort is making out with Zora right above them. Aggressively, intimately. They married. All of the heaven ghosts show up and wave like at the end of Star Wars Episode 6, except Kodo appears like Anakin and he didn't redeem himself. and I haven't seen the Star Wars films. Everyone is happy, goes their separate ways. The Horde goes off to live on an island. The Russians cause an incident with their warhead. Julien humps the throne, and Mort calls it, quote, one lucky chair. Exit stage exiled. On to the final season. Final season premiere.
Here we
Mort
go.
Gets kicked over yonder and claims he don't want to die this way. If he remembers any fragment of his full life, maybe then he can be killed, not just absorbed by similars? This episode thrusts one truth in our faces hard. The sky gods aren't hiding anymore. A huge 2D hand reaches from the heavens and gives Julien a keyboard infused with energy. Oh, wait. Never mind. Julian's just dreaming. But would you
I was very confused there for a second. I'm like, what? Why was Madagascar going all Monty Python on us?
Honestly, blame me for presuming otherwise. This also means Mort's statement about death is dubious. When Julien awakens, Mort relishes over him per the usual, and then lambasts Maurice for getting snail mucus on everything. Mort requests a technical toenail garden. I don't know what the hell that means. Mort has some feminine oviparity in his genome too, it would seem, as Zora demands that they reproduce, and he says he hasn't laid an egg in 40 years, and it hatched an abomination. Part bird. Tammy claims her son is woke. Sage spoons his hawk. The second we get back to this episodic format, there's loads of social satire again. This time about criticism, safe spaces, forced positivity, and participation awards.
This was the last season, and from what I've seen, this show went until 2017, right? Yeah, okay, I can see that. Those were potentially big talking points back then. Okay.
A lemur screams at a cantaloupe. What do you want from me? I wonder if it's a heaven fruit. Alien music does play. Todd nearly dies. Again. Then I'm pretty sure he eats like half the population again. Mort advertises to children how he will support you if you rub his belly and it...
Wait, half the population again. Does that mean the other half of the population or half of the remaining population?
They'll cost ya. Purely disturbed. Julien feigns an NDE, and Mort cries, then snaps on some gloves, wiggles his fingers, and thirsts, as they say. Episode 2. They break the fourth wall by mocking a flashback, propaganda commentary that devolves into insanity. Mort and Zora get freaky, if they weren't already. It was only a matter of time before they pulled a radioactivity joke on Mort, and here it is. He swims in a toxic watering hole and then glows green. He calls everyone neurotic, and then his teeth fall out. He then hops in a densely toxic pool, and poisonous gas explodes from his orifices as he vomits brown tar before bubbling, transmutating into popcorn and screaming his skin off. He calls everyone overreactive as a skeleton, proving once again and for all that he has some bone structure.
You know, I'm really fighting the urge to not just walk away, because like I that's thinking about that's pretty much I think I've done that, or just walked away or sat down, just like almost every single one of these videos. I'm honestly this close.
Maurice is an ancient aliens conspiracy theorist. Same. Episode 3. Julien has a nightmare about Todd being snatched by a monster. Apparently, it was somehow real. Tammy scared it off, but Todd was not left unscathed. Everyone automatically assumes Mort was the monster because, well,
it's
you
Mort.
know why at this point. He sits in the corner of a creepy cave and says, "Not me," with his granny's wig on. At this point, he's just embracing what he is, considering we know his granny is currently trapped down in the mind well. Todd's dad calls him, quote, a delusional little girl who sadly must be put down. Butterfish is his dad's name, and he is indescribably dumb in the best possible way. Everyone keeps accusing Mort of being a horrific and murderous night creature, and he even admits to having been cursed many, many times. Julien's parents show up and admit they single-handedly repopulated the kingdom, answering the inbreeding questions from much earlier.
Wait, so that means that literally every single lemur on the island is or was Julien's direct sibling? Okay. This, again, like, I keep having to tell myself that this was a kid show. And honestly, every time I tell myself that, I believe myself even less. Because just every single thing I hear from this, like, I know, a good writer is able to slip things in, slip things past the censors, that kids won't get, parents watching with their kids will get and get a chuckle out of. But this is like, there's one every few, it seems like there's at least like 3 or 4 of these types of jokes in almost every episode. And at that point, like, if I was the writer, I'd be worried about getting caught, which, I mean, evidently seemingly they never were, but still, like, they're flying a little too close to the sun here.
And also, why everyone claims to be cousins in this show. His parents also then shatter the fourth wall when they criticize Julien for battling Kodo an entire season. Uncle King Julien walks in and calls his sister Babe. Now they're just plain R-rated. LMFAO-ho. We finally get a new, truly unique moment from Mort when he reveals something we didn't know yet.
What?
His descendants. He says to let Julien cry it all out as it works on his grandchildren. Instead of leaving it as an offhand comment, Maurice once again asks Mort to elaborate, to which Mort immediately forgets he even mentioned them and panics, asking, "How did they escape? Don't let them find me!" He then shoots a spider web and confirms he is indeed part spider as he hides on the ceiling. Clearly, whatever eggs he's hatched weren't just random things, they were characters who I'd like to meet actually, and paired with his previous statement about dead butterflies, I bet they're spider babies. Julien keeps having dreams within dreams. This episode is packed, my god. I expected less after the jaw-dropper that was exiled, but nah. Turns out the lemur werewolf beast is Julien, surprise surprise.
Lemur werewolf? What? When was... Oh, was it... Really fighting the urge here.
Attacks a couple watching The Shining in which Mort is the twin girls like we saw in his mind, and Todd is Danny. They filmed this. Everyone keeps thinking Todd died, and his dad doesn't even recognize him, calling him a random little girl again. Later calls him his stepdaughter. A statue seemingly blinks. I don't know how much longer I can ramble off the unexplained supernaturality of this show. We're almost done. Mort breaks into a creepy situation just to say, tick-tock.
Are we sure this show is canon at all to the rest of the Madagascar franchise? Because, like, honestly, at this point, like, this is just getting weird.
Tick-tock. Mort promiscuously dances in a cage at a night party and says, "Hey, boys!" Even Julien's parents are appalled. Text superimposes itself in a spatially 4D manner. Nobody questions it, as it is post-productive editing. I'm seriously losing.
Wait, slightly older cousin on his mother's side night creature? What?
Manner. Nobody questions it, as it is post-productive editing. I'm seriously losing it here. Apparently Julien's transformation.
You're only
is
just
a
now
really
losing
bad
it?
Milk allergy. Okay. Episode 4. Todd's dead eyes are brought up. Maurice gets money for dancing, and even admits that the only reason he's loved by anyone is for his thick booty, which Julien promptly slaps. What? They show Maurice a picture of a hyper-realistic cat, so he'll cry and overload a robot's emotional apperception. This episode has a whack timeline, and Mort claims to have been trapped in a pie for years. Then he dives into a volcano in the name of Julien. This whole episode was a story Julien made up, but again, like all Madagascar metafictions, it could all be true and no eyes would nor should be batted. But then
No, I'm not pulling up. I'm not pulling up the writers again. What? What? What was the show? This entire thing is just like a constant fever dream, and like I've watched really weird shows before. Some of my favorites are, again, like I've said, I did Adventure Time, The Amazing World of Gumball and its sequel series. Like, these shows that, like, are, like, so weird, but they have, like, an internal sense of consistency that, like, you know, makes them work. Like, at this point, like, the only sense of internal consistency that, you know, the Mort theory has, or just all Hail King Julien has, I should say, is the fact that Mort is some sort of freak of nature and shouldn't be allowed to exist.
At the last second, Mort reveals he's a robot. A joke, a thriller cliffhanger. Episode 5. Mort sniffs a new chick, and Julien hires Todd to be the cool kid in his entourage. Tammy cries. Butterfish eats his fingers.
What? Todd? Why Todd's eyes are big now? They're big and normal. What's going on with that?
Julien claims Todd is 3 days old. Julien is not like Mort. Julien is hyperbolic. Therefore, Todd is most likely not 3 days old. Mort is fired for the sake of Todd's position, and Mort screams bloody ageists as he's evicted from the room.
Bloody ageists!
Todd is in danger. Mort goes off the deep end of villainy, and Zora's still all like, huh? You see, Mort takes advantage of Tammy's anguish and steals Todd's identity. Social media and statistical commentary this episode interspersed with overt jokes. Mort's baby identity is sort of back, but this time he's pure malice. And
yes,
indeed,
mother.
we get confirmation that all of Mort's alters are still alive and well, even after he light vomited on them. Todd briefly comes home to grab his toothbrush, and we get probably the most 180-degree scene from the sorts of things Mort does in the films. People who haven't seen this show still think Mort is a helpless little baby. Show them this. Mort mimics Todd to a T, and then evilly growls, "You made your bed, loser, and I'm laying in it." Mort holds Todd's family hostage with the sheer grit and uncanny horror of Tammy knowing something's wrong with her son, but being too terrified to act upon that pit in her stomach. Mort is exploiting this devastated fear Tammy has, and it is high-octane nightmare fuel. He seduces Tammy and brushes her with his tail. And the scary part of this is that Mort is intentionally honing the creepiness he's absorbed from his immortal lifespan. Todd says, "Come at me, bro!" and Mort threatens to rip off his face. Oh, you know, this episode has this Kingdom thief lady, and I immediately thought it was that con woman from a few seasons ago. Turns out, it was true. See? You learn how to predict the unpredictable after a while of enduring this. It conditions you. Episode 6. Julien slaps Butterfish and he giggles like a geisha for some what the f*** out of character reason.
A geisha? Granted, I mean, like, I've never seen a geisha in real life before. But do they laugh in a particular way that I'm unaware of?
Julien releases tea to the world like he did coffee so long ago, and Mort uproots everyone in the line, downs the whole drink, and then chomps the ceramic cup down as well. We know what coffee does to him, so what does tea do? Well,
I mean, tea doesn't have as much caffeine in it as coffee, so I don't think it would be enough to have, you know, Smart Mort come out. But I'm guessing by the picture it's hippie Mort?
He screams in pain and then jets up with 60s glasses and an absolute hippie demeanor. He wears a flower necklace and leads a cult, all what with his "Am I okay? Can I be reduced to 2 letters?" and his "Society programs us like a robot escaping the mannequin factory." This would be mythical and shocking, but we know exactly what is happening here. It's just one of the absorbed souls being metabolically triggered, like Smart Mort. They plan to tranquilize Mort if he gets even an ounce weirder. Honestly, at this point, the writers could do anything with Mort, and I'd accept it.
What? Honestly, the question, they're gonna, like, tranquilize Mort if he gets any weirder. Like, why wait? You already know for a fact not you, for a verifiable fact that he is going to get weirder. Why wait?
So let's just go with the assumption that literally anything can happen to him. An infinitely variable Schrödinger scenario. Carl appears in Julien's bed and says that he has a proposition for him. The characters in this show are apparently endless, as Carl's brother then enters the picture as a bully who befriends the Russian dolphin jocks. But Carl's brother does teach Julien about human culture, which is something he also needed knowledge of ever since learning of their existence in order to make him the character we know in film, and more importantly, in the other spin-off. Corporate and drug commentary. The tea is banned. Mort resorts to coffee, thus bringing out you-know-who. Clover pretends to be an international businessman with a mustache, and Carl's brother says, "Big Daddy likes a solid 7 chick with a nice bushy flavor saver under her nose." What?
This show was made for kids. What was the age rating on it? 6 to 99? What? God, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I'm gonna be so happy when, Theorizer finally moves on from all Hail King Julien, because I am, like, at this point, like, I am just getting tired of the absurdity here. Like, it's honestly, like, I want to move on to something new.
What? What is this show? What is this show? Mort acts as a distraction during a heist by posing as a mermaid. Are we surprised? No. He's wearing the granny wig. Carl takes credit for another manipulation. Shocker. Episode 7. Julien threatens to harm Mort, which Mort loves the idea of. Timo's robot censors Timo and says there could be children watching. The ever-increasing fourth wall breaks aren't what get me, though. It's that she said there could be children watching, which means it's not the target audience. It all makes sense now. Mort downs a bunch of luminescent goop. Mort might be part plant. Mort sleeps in Zora's fat rolls. Mort approaches Julien and says, quote, he alters his DNA. Everyone thinks Maurice is dead, and Mort's first words are dibs on his hut. Pineapple breaks the fourth wall as a huge mango grows and starts talking. Maurice hates Julien for blame shifting. Mort beats up the jumbo mango. 2 crocodiles fall on each other and say, "Let my body be your pillow." Mort knows how cell phones work. The intelligent mango absorbs everyone's minds and heads for the mainland, so Timo calls the supply company of the luminescent goop that created it, and they immediately nuke it in the middle of the ocean. Episode 8, Mort says he's the smartest
Wait, I thought it stole everybody's minds. What happened?
lemur in the world, which we know is true in many ways. We know sky gods are real in Madagascar, but apparently their lore entails Julien I as being the first lemur, who demanded the gods create more. This lore was structured by King Julien the Terrible, so take it all with a grain of salt. They flip through this book of lore, and Mort finds his page. He's in the history section as Adam, and a female Mort next to him is Eve. Clearly this book is all whacked. It has to be, because Granny Mort was his grandma. Unless she was just another multiverse version of Mort who took on the role as his grandma. Still not clear on how he absorbs species from any universe or just variants of himself, I don't know. But this book is messed. Julien too is terrified and asks how freaking old Mort truly is. Answer: if Mort was an interdimensional conqueror in some forgotten lifetime, similarly to Mordecus Khan, and he remembered his granny from 50 years ago, but couldn't remember absorbing her, and perhaps his life as a pirate, then how old? His timeline is all over the place, but let's just assume that he's thousands or millions of years old. He's a Goodman's mouse lemur on the outside, but inside he's added some genome elements. Mouse lemurs evolved 9 million years ago, so there's our limit considering his basis and alleged role as the Adam of his species.
They evolved 9 million years ago, so that's the limit. So at most, he is 9 million years old. I love that logic.
No wonder he has a self-erasing memory. Infinite lifetime. Education system commentary. Todd is a child prodigy with a photographic memory. Mort wants to be a trophy wife for Julien and has his name engraved on him. Todd has PTSD and lives in crippling fear of his mother's screams. Mort poses as Todd in an academic competition, and Smart Mort takes the reins from the inside of his subconscious, or at least he tries to, but is convinced by the other spirits to do otherwise. Todd's demon comes out again when his head cranks 180 degrees and he mauls his kidnapper. Episode 9, they hold an election for a small ranking position in the kingdom and Mort is supposed to fail on purpose. Well, the show literally plays a scare chord as it zooms into Mort's head and shows that there is a whole council of political Morts inside of his mind mansion. The most extremist one, responsible for previously nuking something, locks the others up and takes control of Mort's body. We finally see this possession process. Political Mort then steals the election by hiding in Zora's She-Mountain pouch and saying cunningly persuasive things like, "You need the Mort. You want the Mort inside you," whispering, "Mort." Political Mort uses persuasion tactics like saying his opponent, Maurice, is in bed with the Fusa and doesn't believe in the Sky Gods. Commentary. Everyone starts to love this Mort, so he tests their faith by blabbering gibberish on stage, and sure enough, they consider it genius somehow. He does this for 10 days in a row. They're voting for the position of mango manager or something, and while everyone watches Mort do a toilet dance, fruit flies eat all of the fruit and kidnap the kingdom to lay their larvae. The other spirits break free and subdue political Mort before sending Chainsaw Mort into Mort's mental control room to saw himself free of the fruit flies. Maurice farts to kill the flies and the subtitles read sustained flatulence.
When did the whole thing about Maurice being with farts come from? It seemingly just became a thing in this video. I don't remember Maurice having I don't remember anything else with Maurice in any of the other videos.
Very few children will watch the subtitles, but I do, and whomever writes these knows what's up. Mort later vomits up thousands of dead flies and then becomes a giant one and flies away. Now he's part fly. Eating mass quantities alters his genome. That's how. Mort is Kirby. Also explains the black hole that is his stomach. I'll go in more detail later, but I'm almost certain that Mort, is like Kirby and has a pocket dimension inside of him. Episode 10. Carl and his bug move to Florida, but not before setting up a Willy Wonka tour of his lair to have someone replace him as, quote, the great evil. Meanwhile, Mort's grandpa shows up, and Mort remembers him from when he and his siblings were babies celebrating Hanukkah. See, Mort may be the OG, but he isn't the oldest. I don't even know how that works, but it does.
There's some sort of weird causality loop going on with Mort. I am 100% convinced that at some point there's going to be time travel, and then Mort's going to go back in time and somehow be his own and great grandfather or something like that. So.
This is Grammy's hubby, too. He's a convict. Once in Carl's tour, they even parody Wonka's subtle creepiness, just like I always do. Grandpa Mort was imprisoned, and Mort responds by describing how his voices get mad when he can't remember committing terrible crimes. Grandpa Mort implies all Morts are meant to be incredible forces of evil. Mort says he constantly has near-fatal levels of water retention. Regardless, Mort drinks an ocean and barks up a billionth of a percent of it later on. His stomach is the pocket dimension mansion. Grandpa Mort says evil's in their family's blood, which is why they inhale essences. Clearly Mort forgot all of this as a coping mechanism to evade villainy, which reminds me of ABC's Fringe. Apparently, it was King Julien IV who locked Mort's grandpa away, and our Julien, Seven Greats grandson the 13th, is going to pay for it. Mort is a wild collective soul jar soup, and his grandpa wants to enter the absorption too. He begs for Mort's evil, and when it's denied, he absorbs Mort himself. Mort is apparently too powerful and stupid at this point, and it blows his grandpa up. Mort nearly dies in the process, and Julien yet again screams, "He's just a child!" as he punches Mort a la bootleg CPR. Carl enters and Julien sighs, "We've already reached the climax." Mort keeps dying and resurrecting, and I'd like to see what the hell is happening from his mansion's perspective. Carl reveals it was all a setup, and then pulls out Moon Laser 2.0 to wipe Madagascar off the map, but Julien was always prepared to take advantage of Carl's laser obsession and finally defeats him. More Maurice emotion mockery. Episode 11. Mort swallows a mine whole and blows up. The whole security system just so happens to land on the beach. Clearly a trap, but this is normal for the show too. Surveillance commentary ensues. Todd is arrested for a fashion faux pas. Prison commentary ensues.
Fashion
the
faux
episode
pas?
is a musical. More Willy Wonka parodies. An episode too late. Someone watched it the night before and it influenced their screenwriting, I swear. Mort is back on them ancient aliens. The whole kingdom is imprisoned. Tammy is the boss around these parts if you know what I mean. Mort is verbally stated to be virtually indestructible. Apparently Mort never writes anything down because it can be used against him in court. Someone's been writing letters.
this whole thing. Why is it like this? Why is this show like this? Like, at this point, like, I very much have to believe that, you know, the writers were very much just going on constantly, like, writing these absurd plots just to see what they could get away with. Because, like, the show was supposed to be a prequel to the Madagascar film. And, you know, a couple of other properties, like, you know, the Penguins show and stuff like that. And I cannot think of a single thing in those movies. Granted, I never watched the third one. And I know, like, the policewoman in that one can go a little nuts. But of the Madagascar stuff I have watched, nothing in it gets to this level. Like, of anything in this show. It is honestly insane.
To Zora in prison, and it turns out to be Julien's uncle again, who's also behind the surveillance trap. He's fallen in love with Zora, though. Uncle Julien says he's spent so many seasons searching, and finally he found true love. How does Mort, you know, her husband, react to this? He straight don't give a shit. He's all like, dodge that bullet. Oh, the savagery. And so here we are, series finale, part 1. This episode is called The End is Near, and part 2 is called The End is Here. Fourth wall. Clover's gonna marry Sage, and Maurice says 5 seasons of romantic tension is more than enough. First, Mort gives marriage advice. He then suggests they lock Clover away until she forgets him. Clover's grandma, the one that proved the supernatural exists in this show, speaks to Clover from the sky god heaven when Sage marries Crimson instead. Clover undoes this and takes him for herself. They once again mock how Exiled was a season long. Mort suddenly reveals another new ability, which is apparently partial consciousness transference. He calls Hector an old man again, this time without speaking, and Hector hears him. Mort can read and write minds, which we've seen before. Must be a consequence of spiritual proprioception. Episode 13, the final episode, part 2, whatever you want to call it, is the end. Oh, thank God. It's been weeks, months from my perspective, only an hour and a half for you guys. Mort keeps dozens of tombstones.
Yeah, only.
On standby in his house. He also claims he himself has been in jail for a large amount of time in the past. He has moments where he remembers and then doesn't question why he forgets later. Gigi says she hasn't seen many of the guests at Clover's wedding in multiple seasons. Get your fourth wall head-ass asses out of here. There's a...
What was that?
Get your fourth wall head-ass asses out of here. There's a banana...
Fourth wall... Oh, God. I mean, I can enjoy a good fourth wall break. I really can. I mean, like, I liked watching, you know, the Deadpool 1 and 2 and stuff like that. But at this point, this is just getting silly. Like, if you have a show that doesn't take itself seriously, like, in the slightest like this, like, how can the audience take it seriously? I mean, I just kind of answered my own question here. You're not supposed to take this show seriously. I'm so happy we're almost over.
And a meme lord. Heaven fruit guarantee. And you know what Mort's last words are in this show? I hope Clover and Sage last longer than my 12 marriages. Of course, most of my wives died of old age. We end where we began. Every character that ever died is partying with the fruits up in heaven, and then Alex the lion washes up in his box on the beach. Surprisingly, before my theories, my only question now is, does Mort include Zora or Pam in that wife count? He never formally divorced Zora or was ever legally married to Pam, but we know he has kids and grandkids, so does it really matter? We never met his parents either. Absorbed guarantee. There is more, such as tying it into grander theories, but I did already get some of the big ideas I have out here. I'll recap them and discuss them and assimilate them later, of course. But
assimilate them, yeah, right choice of words there.
Madagascar, which is going to be almost as long. Give me a month or something, like a break. I need to do other theories. My God, I feel so...
Well, that you say that, it's like, oh, it's going to be just as long, but the one video is going to be as long. It's going to be one video. I mean, I'm happy. I like penguins in Madagascar. I want penguins. I am tired of Julien.
Bad for the people who don't actually want to watch these Mort theories. The Bee movie and Kung Fu Panda can also tie in here with animal intelligence, and that'll be later. Loose thoughts. Morticus sounds like Mort's home planet Footicus. And if Mort really is metallic inside, it makes sense why he bawled in film 1 when Maurice said the zoo gang was there for their precious metals. I'll discuss this more in the theory too, but in Madagascar 3, maybe Mort is implying a little more when he says, "My tummy is speaking to me," Kirby head ass. For now, subscribe. Part 2 has rapidly, as you can see, become parts 3 and 4 as well, bumping us up to a 17-part series now. If this keeps happening, again, this is why I estimated a total of 25 parts. Who knows what the future holds in regards to the next videos. I'm sure my evidence delve into the Penguins TV show will take a couple videos, but I foresee it being an easier task somehow. It will be next whenever it will be. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next leg of this Mort theory, because once we finish all this evidence, we get to the answers not provided, the truth of where he's from.
Yeah, the actual theories.
The unifying theory of Mort, because everything can fit together into one massive story. And once we solve Mort, then we get to the next chunk of this 25-part behemoth. We move on to the next film, and we create our DreamWorks timeline centered around Mort the Lemur. Follow my Twitter at theorizer.yt and turn on notifications here while you watch my other animated theories in the meantime. Those ones are mind-blowing. This has just been an evidence delve. I haven't actually done any critical thinking yet. I don't know why you guys love this so much. And until then, everybody, I'm exhausted, but still the theorizer. Mort is stupid, I am not. Bootleg SCP as thought. Take him down, get him gone. Backhand him like Morty Con. Peasants don't get presents, they get roasted like a pheasant. Madagascar's worse, with this curse remaining alive and perverse. Evil, rotten, horrifying. Intel lacking, mortifying. Piece of shit anomaly. I will prove it, you will see.
Well, that was part 4 of the Mort theory, and finally finished with all Hail King Julien. And we haven't even gotten to the actual theory itself yet. I'm looking at the playlist here. So next is after this will be the Penguins of Madagascar video, only one. After which number 6 is Mort's Secret Identities, which I presume is just about Madagascar, given that it just says Madagascar. And then after that, there's a whole bunch of like DreamWorks stuff, and oh my god, we're not even halfway through. We're not even like a quarter of the way through this. Oh, okay, but yeah, that is going to be it for now. So, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.